Hey everyone, welcome to another video, and this will be on few shot prompting. So with the help of few shot prompting, what we are planning to do is that we are planning to build an agentic workflow which can summarize a document or a research paper which you are currently reading into a LinkedIn post for you. Now we'll utilize the concept of few shot prompting here, and in the future, in the video ahead, we'll be understanding what few shot prompting is. So before we move to that, let's understand what we are trying to build. So we are trying to build a summarizer, or basically an agentic workflow that can summarize the document and research paper for your LinkedIn post. Now you can see the high level design above, and it is very common for any AI tool to do that for you. Any AI tool can summarize a document or a research paper for you so that you can post about it on LinkedIn. That's a very common thing, but the idea here is that every person has their own writing style, right? I can have my own writing style. Maybe I like to include emojis at the end of sentences when I post on LinkedIn, right? I like to write in a passive format when I write a post on LinkedIn. So a lot of styles can be captured when I write a LinkedIn post, and different people have their different way of writing or different styles of writing that can be captured from their past written post, and that's what we're gonna leverage here. We're gonna use these examples will have a person's past LinkedIn post. So suppose if you are building an agentic workflow for your own, you can provide the examples of your past LinkedIn post as a few shot prompting so that the large language model can understand how you write. Now, the design of the workflow is we're gonna provide the link to the article. The link can be from any article website, it can be from Medium, it can be from Blogger, it can be any other research paper as well, which you are currently reading. The link to that paper should be enough. Once you give the link, the agentic workflow should be able to pull out the content from the link, the article content or the research paper content, and it will gonna send this as a prompt to the large language model telling them to summarize it. Now this is okay. The large language model will get the content and will know this that they have to summarize it, but along with that I will also give my few short prompting examples telling the large language model that hey, these are the few previous examples which you can see where I'll be having some article content, and corresponding to that I have my LinkedIn post. I can have 3 examples for that so that the large language model can learn how I write or what is the style of my writing, right? Once I have prepared this dataset, I can give this as a context to the large language model along with the article content as a prompt, and then the large language model will be able to generate a LinkedIn post for me, and this post will be very personalized, meaning since the large language model now has the understanding of the examples through few shot prompting, they'll be able to write a LinkedIn post for me in my style, right? And hence it will be very personalized. So if I'll see that post, it will look like that, okay, I have written it and it is very similar to the way or the style I used to write on LinkedIn, right? So this is the high level idea of this workflow which we are trying to build. So now before moving forward, it is important to understand what we are building, and for that we'll see this agentic workflow end to end. Let me quickly pull that up for you. So this is the place where I have written the agent. So you can see the agent.py file. This is where I have written the entire agent. I have used a LangChain and LangGraph framework to build this. So if I run this agent, you'll see what will happen. So I can simply execute this agent, and this is how it will go. It will gonna prepare few shot data, meaning it will gonna pull the few shot examples and give it to the large language model. Once this is done, it will gonna summarize. So it will gonna summarize the LinkedIn post for you, and then it will gonna return the post. So here, the link which I have given is to the article which I have posted on my newsletter. So I have this, I like actually use this agentic workflow because I have a valid use case for me, because I have a newsletter. I maintain an engineering newsletter, and for that I used to post a lot of additions under those newsletter. So suppose on a particular day I am posting an article on that newsletter, then that article also goes as a post on LinkedIn, and for that you have to have some content in the post. So it is very redundant for me to again write the same thing in a summarized way, because I have written the entire article already. So I usually use this agent. What I can do is that once I have my article content ready, I can give it to it, and since it has all my previous few short examples, so it can understand how I write, and it will gonna generate the summarization LinkedIn post for that particular article which I am posting it right now in a style which I used to write. And I can just copy it, and I can just paste it, and I can create a post for the new article which I am gonna releasing. So this is how it does. Currently the link to the article which I have given to this agent is on tool calling. So it has read the article, and it is trying to generate the content in the way I used to write. I used to have a lot of symbols when I try to write. I used to have hashtags in my LinkedIn post when I write, and that's why it is adding some symbols which is relevant. It is adding some hashtags which is also relevant, and it is adding also the content in a summarized way. So excited to share insight on tool calling with LangChain. Learn how LLM model can leverage tools like APIs and functions to enhance their capabilities. Let's dive into the detail and see how these tools can be integrated into the workflow for more efficient AI agents. Hashtag AI, hashtag LangChain, hashtag tool calling. Now this is pretty okay. I can show you what was the article for which it has tried to return a summarized LinkedIn post. So this is the article, tool calling with LangChain, do more with your agents. This is I wrote it last year on September 22nd, and this was the content which I have given. So on analyzing this content, the agent has come up with the post. I can post whenever I want to share this again with my feed. I can simply add that post which the agent has generated, or the content which the agent has generated, along with the link to this article, and I'm good to go. Now this is the idea. I can also show you the repository because this is a project which I have worked on earlier, and I have developed this. So this is the particular repo. I call it LangPost because it uses a LangChain to post to basically create a post. So this is the repo. It currently has 37 stars, and I have added a pretty decent documentation for it as well. It's a LangPost. It's called LangPost, an AI agent that creates a LinkedIn post. It uses dynamic few shot prompting, so you can go through it. You can easily get that on my profile. This was a really good project which I worked because LangChain itself found it very useful, and they also posted on their feed mentioning about the project. So they mentioned LangPost, an AI agent that creates a LinkedIn post from a LinkedIn newsletter article or any other blog post. So yeah, this is a pretty useful use case, and anyone who is who is fond of reading a lot of research paper, a lot of articles, or anyone who run their own newsletter and they want to share their learnings, whatever they read on a LinkedIn post in a summarized manner, or anywhere in that, on Twitter or any other social media, they can leverage this agent and they can use it to build such kind of thing, or to get generate these posts, right? So this is what we are trying to build, and going ahead, we'll see how we're gonna build this agentic workflow. We'll go through the code, we're gonna see it line by line, and we're gonna run it again to understand what we did. So now we have a high level idea of what we are building. We have also saw our agentic workflow in action. We also saw the repo, the descriptions, everything we have seen. Now we know what we are building and how to approach the problem. So I'll go again. We can see the problem statement here. I read an article or a research paper. I want to summarize it as a LinkedIn post for my audience. We will build an agentic workflow which utilizes the concept of few-shot prompting to achieve this. That is clear because we have already discussed it. Now let's see what we are building in action. I'm gonna skip this because we have also seen what we are building in action. Now let's see what is few-shot prompting. So I have already explained this in the design already, but yeah, let's read it once more. So few-shot prompting refers to the process of providing an AI model with a few examples of a task to guide its performance. And this is what we are doing. We are providing a few examples which the large language model can refer and enhance its performance, or while generating a LinkedIn post, it can make it personalized. That's what we are doing. we are providing a few examples where we have a post content, and along with that we have a personalized LinkedIn post we have written for that content. It can be a research paper or it can be an article content. Anything it is, we have written a LinkedIn post for it in our style, and we have given it to the model, these examples, like 3-4 examples, so that the model can understand. And this method is particularly useful in scenarios where extensive training data is unavailable. And that makes sense because me, like a human, if I want to personalize it for myself, I I won't be able to provide a lot of examples because not a lot of people are very much active on LinkedIn, or like I cannot give like 100 200 data sets because it won't be the case that any person would be posting 100 200 times like the same thing, the similar in a similar way. Like I won't be posting 100 of in the past hundreds of research paper or documents in a summarized way. I might have maybe 10 to 20 examples, and that should be enough because the large language model has already been trained and it understands a lot of things. It only needs a bit of guidance on how to personalize or how to adapt the style of writing. So 3 to 4 examples should be enough. And also, like, we have a context window, so it can be the case that if you give a lot of examples, then you might exceed the context window, which I did already. So I had to reduce the number of examples which I had to feed to the model. So initially I tried with 7 examples, but the context window the context window limit reached, and I was not able to make a call. So I have to reduce that. I have to make it to 3 examples. And with that, even with that examples, the model was performing well. The agent was performing well. It was able to provide a decent response. One thing we can care about is that while providing those 3 to 4 examples, we should try to capture most of the details of our writing. So it can be that all the 3 to 4 posts can be summarizing very different themes of article, so that the model has an idea that how do I write post for summarizing different themes of articles or research papers, so that nothing is missed when we actually try to run the agent, right? So this is few shot prompting. Let's also understand the high level design. I have already explained the high level design initially, so we can go through it once more. We have a link to the article. The link can be from any of the websites. It can be from Medium, it can be from Blogger, it can be your own research paper as well. Alright, what our agent will do, or what our workflow will do, is that it will gonna pull the content from the article link. Along with that, we are also sharing some examples which will be used for the few shot prompting. I have already explained what these examples are, so we'll provide them as a context along with the content for the link of the article which we have pulled. All of this will be sent to the large language model as a context, and the model will try to generate a post for us. Now that's what we want to do. Now moving forward, we'll go through the code walkthrough to understand how we build the agentic workflow which I show earlier. So let's move on to that. Okay, so now let's do the code walkthrough which we discussed earlier. So this is the agent file. So we have only one file where we have written the entire code for building our agentic workflow. And this is the entire code. It is around 118 lines, and we can get this done in just 118 lines. That should be enough. Along with that, I also have the data set where I have the examples for few shot prompting. I can show that first maybe. So this is the examples. It is in JSON format. So you'll see first we have the name of the dataset, that is training dataset for LangPost. After that we have the examples. So if in this JSON you will call the examples, you will fetch the data with the examples key, you will get an array, and the array will hold, or basically you'll get a list of the examples which we can give for few shot prompting. Now the list have elements. All the elements have the same structure. The first thing they have is the URL. The URL is basically the link, or basically the link to the post which you want to summarize, and this is the post content. Basically for this LinkedIn article, or for this article, I have tried to generate a LinkedIn post, and this is in my style because I have written it. I have given 7 of these examples where every time I have in the URL I have the content of the article, and along with that I have the corresponding post content where I am summarizing that article. I'm trying to write a LinkedIn post in a way that I want to promote that article, or I want to like summarize it for my post, and then I can attach a link to that article saying that, hey, if you want to read more, you can click on this, something like that. So this is the summarized post content. These are the few short examples which I'll be giving to the large language model so that they can learn my writing style. Now this is the high level idea. These are the examples we have. I can close this now. I hope that was you're able to understand that. Now we can go back to the agent code here, the workflow code. We have a base prompt and we have a max few shot example. So I mentioned earlier that I maxed out the context limit, and that's why I have to reduce the examples which I am passing currently. So my data set although has 7 examples, but I'll only pass 3 examples because I maxed out the context window limit. So the max few shot examples is currently 3. I have a base prompt as well, and this is interesting. So I am mentioning that you are sort of Pratik. You post highlighting information related to technical concepts on LinkedIn. Your field of interest are interest, and that's wrong. Your field of interests are generative AI and software engineering. You use emojis, you use exclamation points, but you are not overly enthusiastic. You are not overly formal. You are not salesy. You are nice. When given an article, write a summarized LinkedIn post about it, make it relevant and specific to the article at hand. Pay attention to the examples below. These are good examples. Generate future summarized post in the style of the post below. Now here, after this, in the prompt, we are adding our few short examples picked from the dataset which I showed earlier, right? So that the large language model can understand how do I write, because I'm saying specifically that, hey, pay attention to the examples below. These are good examples, and try to generate the summarized post in the style of the post below. So it can adapt the writing style from the below examples, and it can now generate the post with a similar writing style. Whatever I'm doing here is built on LangGraph. So I have I have already added, or I have already uploaded a lot of videos previously in this AI Engineering 101 series, where I talk about LangGraph in detail, how you can build an agentic workflow in LangGraph. So you can watch through it if you haven't already to get a context. So if I have to explain, when you build an agentic workflow on LangGraph, you have to define a shared state. That shared state will gonna hold all the informations which you require when your agentic workflow is running, or when you want to send some information or you want to get some information, right? So in this state, I have the post URL. The post URL, basically the URL for which we want our agent to give us a LinkedIn post content. The post content is also there. This post content will be basically the content from the URL. So whatever I can fetch the content from this URL, I can get the content. I have some few short examples, basically our previous examples where we have the post URL and the LinkedIn post. And then I have the LinkedIn post content, which the agent will give us. So the agent will gonna get the post content and the few short examples. And on the basis of that, it will try to create a LinkedIn post content for this post content, right? And this post content is nothing but the content which we have extracted from the post URL. So you don't have to give the bulky content, you can directly give the URL, and this agentic workflow can take care of pulling the content from the URL. Okay, so the first method is get article content for post. So we give the link and it will get the article content. So what I'm doing is that I'm calling a method which is get content from the URL, and I am passing the shared state post URL. So in the shared state, I'll give the post URL for which I want to generate a summarized LinkedIn post, and this method will gonna get the content for that particular URL. So this is a basic helper method. What it does is that given a URL, it tries to pull the content for that URL. So basically whatever content is present on that URL, it will gonna try to pull it so that I can get the article content. So once it is pulled, I'll store it in the post content and I'll put that in the shared state so that we can move it ahead. So once the shared state is passed, I pass the post content because this will be needed by the large language model. So I put the post content here in the shared state and I return the shared state. The second method is prepare few short data. In this one, we also pass the shared state because every node in a LangGraph workflow takes the shared state and returns the shared state, right? So it takes the shared state. I have a logger that says running prepare few shot data. So basically it is telling that this node is running now. The thing is the LinkedIn post. So it get the LinkedIn post. So this is also a helper method. I can show you what it does. It basically what it does is that the data set which I mentioned earlier, it opens that data set and it reads that dataset JSON file and store the content here. Now, okay, so it stores the content. Basically, it stores the entire file here, and now it reads from the file using this method, and it stores the JSON content here. So whatever JSON data I have in the dataset, so basically the entire JSON data of my dataset is stored here. Now what I can do is that I can parse that JSON into a list. So this can be done using the JSON library. So JSON loads post JSON data. It loads the JSON structure into a Python friendly data structure, which would generally be a dictionary. From that dictionary, I'm calling the examples because when we saw earlier in the dataset, we saw that all our examples is under a example field. So within the example field, we have an array of few short examples. So that is why we're gonna fetch the examples key. Now this returns a list of examples for few shot prompting. So I can see this here. Now in the LinkedIn post, I have the list of examples which is required for the few shot prompting. We call it few shot examples. Now we don't want the URL basically because to the large language model, we don't need to pass the URL. We need to pass the content of that URL, right? So we're gonna parse it for all the LinkedIn posts or all the few shot examples which I have extracted. I'll gonna loop over it and I'll gonna pick the URL from here, call it a newsletter article URL, and we're gonna get the content from the URL. So again, the same method is being used, which fetches the URL and gets the content from it, which we used earlier to get the content of the post, which we want to summarize. So I got the newsletter article content. Along with that, I also got the newsletter LinkedIn post. So for this content, the post which I have written in the few shot example, I got that as well, so that I can show that as a few shot examples, or I can provide that as a few shot examples. Now I put that in the few shot examples array with the, so I have put one object in this array which has article content key, which shows the newsletter article content which we have pulled, and the post content which shows the LinkedIn post which we have written. So this will gonna build, once this loop runs, this will gonna build the few shot examples for us. So once this few shot example is created, I can return that, right? So once the few shot example is built, I can store these few shot example in the shared state, and I can return the shared state so that I can use these ahead when I'm summarizing the LinkedIn post, right? So I store that here. Now the third method is summarize LinkedIn post. What it does is that it will gonna summarize LinkedIn post for you. Now we have everything which we need. We have the few short examples, and along with that we also have the content of the post for which we want to create the LinkedIn post, right? Or the content of the article for which we want to create the LinkedIn post. So we're gonna prepare our prompt. The prompt is prepared in a very smart way. The first, we have a list of messages which we are sending to the large language model. The first thing which we are putting it inside this is a system message which holds the base prompt. Okay, so now I can show you how the base prompt looks like. This we have already discovered earlier as well, and this is the overall base prompt which we will be putting it here, right? So this method takes the base prompt as a system messages, and this messages again, as I mentioned, it's a list, so it will gonna append an interchange of the messages. So the interchange message will be between the human and the AI. So you can think of it, I am sending something to the large language model, and the large language model is returning me with a AI message. Now this is what we are planning to do here. You can see we are looping through all the few short examples, and we are giving these few short example as an interchange message between the human and the AI, so that the large language model can interpret that, okay, if a human is providing with the article content, then the large language model returned with the LinkedIn post content, which has all the writing style and all the summarization within it, right? And with that, this will be shown, or this will be given as a few short example, which the model will be able to learn and will be able to implement the writing styles, right? So we're gonna loop through the few short examples and we'll append the human message and the AI message. When in the human message, we'll give the article content, and in the AI message, we'll give the post content. Okay, so the article content will be again the data we pulled from the URL. It will have the content of the entire article pulled from the URL, and the AI message will hold the post content, which was also present in the dataset. It will be having the LinkedIn post, or basically the post which the similar post which I want the model to create. Now at the end, once we have looped through the few short examples, we're gonna add the human message with the post content for which we want the large language model to provide the LinkedIn post. So this will be the post content, or you can also say it as this will be the article content which I want my model to summarize and write a LinkedIn post for it. So this will be at the end, and after that we'll not gonna give any AI message. We'll expect an AI message from the model which will have the summarization, the writing style embedded, and a proper LinkedIn post for this article content, because we have already given the few short examples here for the model to learn, right? So once this is done, we have prepared the prompt which we want to send, starting with the base prompt, then all the few short examples in the exchange of human and AI message, and at the end we give our human message with the post content, and we expect the model to give us a LinkedIn post, right? So the model we are defining is the GPT 3.5 turbo model. The temperature specification is 0, and at the end we invoke the model with the message, all the messages we have prepared till now. Once we invoke the model with the message, we get a response, and we expect that this response will be the LinkedIn post which I want the model to create. Now we can strip the spaces which are at the start or at the end. If any, we're gonna strip it. If there is no response, then we will return no summary available. If there is a response, then we will return the content of the response, and we'll store this response in the shared state. In the shared state, we'll store this within LinkedIn post content, because this field will hold the response generated by our AI agent, which will be the personalized LinkedIn post for the article content. And at the end, we'll return the shared state. So this will be the overall code. These are the two helper methods which we had. First one is the get LinkedIn post, and the second was the get content from the URL. Now get content from the URL, it uses web-based loader. It is also a LangChain library which fetches the content when you give it a URL. So when you give it a URL and when you load it, it will return the content present in the URL in the form of the documents, and you can loop over the documents, and you can refer to the page content of each document to accumulate the entire content of the URL. And in this way we are pulling the content from the URL, and this was used multiple places above in the function. Now we are done with the building blocks which we require to build our agentic workflow. Now it's time to actually state them or arrange them in a workflow fashion. So for that, we're gonna create a method build graph. We'll load our environment variables first, and then we will create the workflow. So the first workflow will have a state graph where it will have a shared state. Along with that, we'll also define all the nodes which we described above: the article content for post, prepare few short data, and summarize LinkedIn post. Once the node is added, we're gonna add the edge. This is a very simple structured workflow where it starts with a start node and it goes to the article content for the post. This method will gonna get the article content for which we want to generate a LinkedIn post. From there, it will gonna go to the prepare few short data. This will gonna pull the few short examples from the dataset JSON file which we show earlier, and it will gonna arrange that in the order which can be given to the large language model. After that, this will go to the summarized LinkedIn post, where it will get the few short examples and the content of the article which we want to summarize, and it will gonna give it to the large language model and wait for a response. And once this is done, we're gonna end, and after the end, we're gonna return the shared state. So this is the workflow. We're gonna compile our workflow, and then we're gonna invoke. So in order to invoke the workflow, we'll start with the post URL. Now this is important because we need something. We need to give the post URL for which we want our AI agent to give us a LinkedIn post. So this entire workflow is very simple to use. What you have to give is a post URL. The post URL is anything. It can be an article URL or it can be a URL of a research paper which you want your agent to summarize and give you a summarized and personalized LinkedIn post or any other social media post. So I'm going to invoke with one of the article which I mentioned earlier, that was tool calling. The article was based on tool calling. So the agent will give me the response, which will be the LinkedIn post, a summarized and personalized LinkedIn post for this article. Now this was the overall workflow. This is how it looked like. And after that we are calling the build graph, because within the build graph we are building the entire workflow graph. And once you invoke the graph, it will gonna execute all the nodes. So all the nodes which we mentioned above, it will gonna execute it in the fashion which we have arranged the node. And then once it is done executing, it will gonna return the state, and from the state we can get the LinkedIn post content. And that's what it was doing earlier. Now I hope that the code walkthrough is very clear. You can fall to this from the basically you can refer this code base in my GitHub repo as well, the lang post repo which I show earlier. So you can do that as well if anything is still unclear. I'll add the link to the repo in the description of this video only. Now let's quickly see this workflow in action once again. We have gone through the entire code base, so it will make more sense when we try to go through the workflow, or basically when we try to run the workflow once again. So this is on the left side is the design of the workflow which we have built, starting with the start node, gets the article content, prepare few short data, and then summarize it to a LinkedIn post. And this is what the workflow we have built. Now I can quickly open up the terminal and I can run. So this time when I'll run the workflow, I have provided it with a different article, and this is the article which I have provided. This is the title is Parallel Execution of Nodes in LangGraph, Enhancing the Performance of Your Graph Workflows. So this is another addition in my newsletter, and this stresses on how a parallel execution of nodes in LangGraph can save time or can reduce the response time of your agentic workflow. Now this has a lot of thing in detail, and if I have to myself write a summary post for it, it would take some time. So what I'm gonna do is that I'm gonna just copy the link and I'll gonna return it, and then we can see what happens. So basically I'm gonna copy the link and give it to the workflow, and we can see what happens, right? So let us go back and let us see. So I've already pasted the link in the workflow. I just have to run the agent and we can see what it does. So again it is running and preparing the few short data, the same data which was there in the JSON file. Now it will probably, it started summarizing the LinkedIn post, and here it is, we have our post. So this was the post it has created. It says that learn how to enhance the performance of your graph workflows with parallel execution of nodes in LangGraph. By utilizing fan out and fan in mechanism, you can significantly speed up your graph operations. Check out the comparison between serial and parallel execution in this insightful article. Graph workflows, hashtag LangGraph, hashtag performance enhancement. Now this is good. This is a very interesting and very decent summary which I can just copy from here, and I can create a post with this content on LinkedIn probably. So yeah, this is what we have built. So now we are at the end of this video, where we have discussed how you can build an agentic workflow which can write a LinkedIn post for you using the concept of few shot prompting. Now if you understood the concept clearly, and if you like it, you can like this video, you can subscribe to this channel. I am building my AI Engineering 101 playlist. You can see it in the channel itself, and it has a lot of videos on AI engineering and multiple concepts related to it. So if this is helpful, you can share the channel with the others who can be benefited from this. And yeah, I'll meet you in the next video.